behavior and shall not be so removed except in accordance with the provisions of this section. Let me pause. Once again, I heard Dr. Gonzalez on extreme reading this out, as if this means that the commission is insulated, they could do anything, and it is only if they are unable, infirmity of mind or body, that they can be recalled. What does misbehavior mean? If you are the head of a commission for 18 years, and you know the rules, you know exactly what should be done, and you misbehave in your office to the extent that none of the regulations in terms of making seniority lists, advertising for jobs, when you're supposed to, how you fill vacancies, doing annual returns, annual reports on these persons, is that proper behavior, would you say, in office? So when you jump on the radio and say that you can only remove them for misbehavior, you are condoning the behavior of the persons that you appointed.
After this case? Well, after this
Even
case?
after
This is misbehavior? This is misbehavior?
Even after
to
this
breach
case.
the Constitution, breach the public
And
service
you don't
regulation.
go and apologize to your people and say, oh, I appointed persons and, you know, they have not done well. No. You would say there's no reason for me to remove them because it have not reached the threshold. I don't agree with that. It's an excuse. It is an abuse and a misuse and a misinterpretation, willfully so, by the person who should know better. Let me read number 6, subsection 6. A member of the commission shall be removed from office by the Governor General if the question of his removal from office has been referred to a tribunal appointed under subsection 7 of this section, and the tribunal has recommended to the Governor General that he ought to be removed from office for inability, as aforesaid, or for misbehavior. Subsection 7, and this is where the Prime Minister comes in. Subsection 7. If the Prime Minister represents to the Governor General that the question of removing a member of the Commission under this section ought to be investigated, then the Governor General shall appoint a tribunal which shall consist of a chairman and not less than 2 other members selected by the Chief Justice from among persons who hold or have held office as a judge of a court of unlimited jurisdiction, etc. That is what the tribunal should consist of. So that for our Prime Minister, having read, in fact, he said he didn't read the judgment at the time. I hope he has read it now. Because I'm saying to you, Ralph, if you have read this judgment, you ought to apply subsection 7 of the Constitution. You cannot have persons saying that they understand what their role is and willfully not doing it. Subsection 8 says, if the question of removing a member of the Commission has been referred to tribunal under this section, the Governor General, acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister, may suspend that member from the exercise of the function of his office, and any such suspension may at any time be revoked by the Governor General, etc., etc. So we are saying that the Prime Minister under subsection 7 has the authority and ought to exercise the authority based on this decision to at least suspend that commission.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're showing scant regard for their civil servants and scant regard
for the Constitution
for the code, and scant regard for the Constitution. So this is not something that should be swept under the rug. This is not something to be overlooked. And you jump on the radio and read the Constitution to convince persons who may not know better that your hands are tied, that you could do nothing despite a judgment like this.
Who could put this tribunal in place? Who have the authority to do that?
I just read for you.
Read it? No.
Let me read.
Because somebody's asking.
Yes, says the Governor General, based on the recommendation of the Prime Minister.
You see? So I see.
That's it.
So you see.
But of course he didn't read that section when he went.
So maybe that's why the pastor is asking. Maybe it's for you to repeat it.
Yes, okay. Because it says, if the Prime Minister represents to the Governor General that the question of removing a member of the Commission under this section ought to be investigated, then the Governor General will appoint the tribunal. So it comes from the Prime Minister. Don't go on the radio and try to mislead people by saying my hands are tied, I can't do anything, the Constitution says this, and on the boot of it, blaming the civil servants for not doing what they should do. It is hypocritical. Most of these appointments are discussed. You've heard it over and over. Can anybody tell me of any major appointment in the civil service that ULP and RAV disapproved of, and yet they're appointed? Anyone at all? I would like to know. I'm throwing it out there. I'm not talking about minor appointments. I'm talking about major appointments, heads of departments and heads of different departments in the department. Any at all where ULP disagreed with it, would not support it, did not recommend and will not recommend, and yet the Public Service Commission appointed the person. Are we saying that there are no qualified persons whom the ULP will not want to see in positions, who are in positions? I mean that they're qualified persons? Because I don't know of any. And for the past 10, 15 years, appointments seem to be made on curry favor. And let me use the same word that Gonsalves used, friend basis. That is how it appears. And when you have a case like this, it's a damning indictment. And as I quoted from the case a while ago, we are entitled to assume that if you don't follow the rules, then it is for another purpose. Paragraph 163, which says it would be unreasonable in the absence of reasons for those bypassed for promotion to conclude that promotion is based not on merit but on some other factor. Let us be very, very forthright and honest. What is that some other factor? What is the plague that has been existing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in promotions, especially in the civil service, one of the biggest employers of persons in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? What is that reason? So I am therefore calling on, as a result of this judgment, though I believe that many persons would have said that this is what has been happening, but now you have it documented, legal, you have it documented, that it is time for that Public Service Commission to go, as indeed it is time for the ULP to go.
Past time.
So that basically the submissions I would like to make, the comments I want to make on this case. It's a very interesting case, and I would urge persons to get hold of a copy, especially every civil servant. Because, I understand that as a result of this case, there's a document now going around called Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Margaret, Annual Performance Report. Because
a document?
A form.
A form.
Where this form suddenly came from?
No, tell me about it, because I don't know about it.
It's marked Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Annual Performance Report. And it's a form that you fill in, ministry, you put it in, name of officer, the post, period covered by report, duties and responsibilities. And then you put performance of the duties, work attitude, strengths, weaknesses, interpersonal relationships, attendance and punctuality, sense of responsibility and initiative, general observations. And then there's a part for the supervising officer, and then a part for remarks of the officer being appraised, and then comments by the permanent secretary. This is what they should have been doing. This is something that the judge held that they were not doing, despite the fact that some of the civil servants who gave evidence, some of the senior ones, on behalf of the respondents, tried to make it appear that they were doing it. Here, how they were doing it, by word of mouth reports.
So that's why that is. Let me see that thing you're just reading from there. Let me see.
You don't reinvent the wheel. That was existing all along.
So they had this Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Annual Performance Report, and the ministry attitude, this, that, and all that, duties and responsibilities.
You would notice the transparency.
But this, to me, gives way for subjectivity, because performance of duties. How are you going to know performance of duties?
Well, obviously
yes,
that
they
has
have
to be
duties,
done, but that has to be done by your head, the heads of your immediate head. There should be a way of doing it first by your immediate supervisor, as you can see, and then higher up person sign. But what I notice on it that is good is that there's a section for the employee who is being reported on to respond, to make comments.
Or to make remarks.
Yes,
oh, yes,
that's what I'm saying. In that that is how it should be. It must be.
But, okay, back in around 2003, 2004, up to 5, I think. After that too, I think up to 8, they were going around with the performance management and development system. They had something better under that. They even spoke to the performance management in a revised but not sanctioned civil service orders. But they had a better thing in it, because if you go back to it, they had a better, you had to do work plans that had to be signed off and so on. You understand? That you write your...
as I said, I don't know exactly where
this to me
came from, but that must be a hurried thing to make it appear that you had something, or that you have something to do. I'm not sure how they came been through it to see how they came up with it, or whether they're all civil servants who can tell you, because Margaret, this is not only in the civil service, I mean the general per se. I did not have time to check the police regulations and the police orders, because there was a time in the police force where you used to do exams, and it was based upon the results of your exams that you got promotion. But under this administration, that is no longer the criteria for promotions.
They have something.
And I've had several police officers come to me with the intention of taking action against the government for this, where they have been overlooked, where persons who may have done an exam at some point and came first and second, these have been overlooked for persons who didn't even pass. And so it seems as though these exams have been abolished.
You remember
something that I need to look
You remember
into.
Bassi Alexander granddaughter?
Yes.
Came first.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And was overlooked. Wow.
So it seems to be the modus operandi that you overlook persons you don't like, or who you think don't support you, or who you think won't kowtow to whatever you want, and you promote persons who you think will support you. And that no country can exist like that. No country, we cannot be productive. It must be counterproductive. It must be.
Keith, we have dealt with the issue of the ruling, right? I want to touch on something else, seeing that you are here with me, and especially the force for the year. I dealt with it in your absence. Is the issue of you being ordained as a pastor? I spoke to the Constitution, I think.
Of course.
Oh, wait, let me take this opportunity to thank the individual who kindly gave me a copy of the 1979-916, the Constitution Order 1979, right? Where I dealt with the qualifications and disqualifications to be a senator and representative. Because, there is an important part in the Constitution that I believe deliberately every single one is overlooking.
Of course.
And it is that part that falls immediately under Section 26(1)(h). Provided for. Provided that. You see that part?
Yes.
Read that part of the publication.
H?
Immediately after H.
Provided that a minister of religion may be appointed as a senator. And that is so clear. That is so clear that,
I thought that when you were on Bing, you forgot that part.
No, I think I mentioned it.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did mention it. I did. But was I on Bing? Where did I?
You called Extreme. You called into Bing's program.
No, it was Extreme.
No,
Bing.
Bing.
No, I didn't speak on Bing.
Yes,
Extreme.
Was Extreme?
Unless they repeated something from Extreme.
Okay.
I only spoke on Extreme. And it's very clear provided. I mean, that is such a storm in a teacup. I just laughed. I laughed at it because it shows how
is disingenuous?
It's
is
not
it
only
dishonest?
disingenuous.
What is
how
the word?
Fearful they are. how fearful they are, how they're looking for anything to disqualify. You know, give
And
me
you
that,
can't even
give
say
me
grabbing
that,
a straw.
that
This thing.
25 rules, because there is a provision in that I want to read which one it is, man. How they disqualify persons. I would have to look.
But I don't get it. The Constitution is clear.
It is
and
clear.
they speak in rules, and then even to the part that speaks to a person can be a minister if it is not their principal occupation.
It's very clear.
What a
It's
country.
very clear.
As
Principal
I like,
occupation include teaching or preaching in any constitution or in
Jesus.
any congregation or religious worship. It has to be your principal job.
your principal job, your main job.
So when they realized that was a problem, they fell back on saying, "Oh well, you know what? You can't serve two masters."
Two masters.
Well, I have one master.
But here the joke in that.
master.
Wait, no man. Here the joke in that case. In the covenant with debt, they removed the disqualification.
Exactly.
So which means that you could have served 1,000 masters under the covenant with debt.
Very, very,
What a country being usually asks where here be.
disingenuous again.
Where here be? I don't understand it. And it's the same thing today. We're going after Dr. Friday with this thing about Commonwealth and all of that. And with the man we have here, his own tongue, he said that a Commonwealth citizen can run for office in this country.
Of course, and you have the words. You played many times.
Oh my goodness me. Well, until you find that
I'm looking for one of the responses, but one of the I should have
you mean the
one of the laws,
the reasons, the 25 ways to suppress
the truth, the rules of disinformation.
Oh, you're not hearing clearly? Okay. It wasn't hearing properly.
Maybe I went back a bit too far from the mic. Side job opponents with name calling. I read that one. I just go through a couple of them as they say.
Okay, but while you look for that, let me see if this is the one with him speaking.
Thank you very much. I was liking
Brother Matthew when he said there's this British and Dutch individual on the court. I think we sometimes missed the fact of what is this.
Not that one, not the one with Rennie that I need. I want the one with the fellow we have here speaking about Commonwealth citizens can run for office in this country. We are finding it before you thing there. Let us play this one.
People here suffering to death, but if you blame government, they're upset. You tell me, don't think they're insane. It's called scientists infect the brain. Many here went to university and came back with numerous degrees. All that means nothing to them again. For scientists infect the brain. Some said to their country they came to give, and they will be people's alternative. All that went rapidly down the drain. For scientists infect the brain. Boy, what's the tuberculosis? Deadlier than hepatitis. No wonder the country's in so much pain. For scientists infect the brain. Oh, Lord. He said we took this disease for granted here for too long. Completely ignore every warning sign and symptom. But look, so many adults it quickly infect and maim. Now it's rapidly eating away the children's brain. The mental and general hospitals can't help you. Look, even the cemeteries crying out they could take no more. And the health officials have not a clue. For guns like this consume their brains too. Many people here without brains in their head like the Latin that they walking dead. Some trying ever more to shut down life's radio. Tell me, don't even cry shame. It's outside to infect the brain. But every day some week from the bed is to try kill bigger pigs dead. But look, the phoenix rise again. It's outside to infect the brain. We had a few promising trade unionists and many politicians political activists. We cannot speak for the masses again.
At the moment, all Commonwealth citizens with 1 year's residence in this country can run for elections. But in the new law, the new constitution, only those from CARICOM, OECS countries which are in the Commonwealth. At the moment, a man can come here from Nigeria and spend a year and run for office. A man can come here from England, from Canada, and live 1 year here and can run for office.
You heard that right, Kay?
Yes.
Yes, that is how it is in this country. But I hate it though. And I think that the media in this country are doing the citizen of a disservice. I really feel so.
Yeah.
There is more to, let us say, popularity and sensationalism on being on radio.
Of course.
Right? There really should be more to it. You shouldn't want to become popular to say, oh, you are the best and the most popular radio host and radio man. No. You have a moral responsibility to the country.
Well, you see, all of that is hidden by the political objective. Mm-hmm. If you can silence your critics, if you can create side issues of straw rather than deal with the main issues. Yes, and that's their way. Let me read number 24 of this 25 ways in which to misinform and to suppress the truth. Hear what 24 says: silence critics if the above methods do not prevail. So this is when you get to the last resort. Consider removing opponents by circulation by some definitive solution so that the need to address issues is removed entirely. This can be by their death, arrest, and detention, blackmail or destruction of their character by release of blackmail information, or merely by proper intimidation with blackmail and other threats. I want to read that over. When you try all of the above to distract, you tell lies, you invoke authority, you hit and run, you sidetrack your opponents by calling them all the names in the world you want, you question their motives instead of dealing with the issue. When you have tried all of that, you silence your critics. This is the communist way, you know. You silence your critics. If the above methods do not prevail, consider removing opponents from circulation by some definitive solution so that the need to address issues is removed entirely.
Okay.
This can be by their death, arrest, detention, blackmail, or destruction of their character by release of blackmail information, or merely by proper intimidation with blackmail or other threats.
You know, in 2010, they conducted what Julian Francis and the ULP boasted of after the 2010 election was, they say they deemed it the best ever full-scale guerrilla campaign ever conducted in the election. Don't doubt me, you know. It is, if you go down to the archives, and I think it is the newspaper of either December or January after the election, they boasted about it. It is there in documentation, in their own article, right? NDP falters, I think, and the ULP soldiers, in that they boasted about their best ever full scale, because they went after Linton Lewis. You know the damning thing they said about Linton? Yes. They even said criminal charges could have been brought. Read that thing again.
That's what
criminal charges could have been brought against Linton.
To see the book, the format that this ULP has been following, it is clear as day. Silence critics. if the above methods do not prevail, consider removing opponents from circulation by some definitive solution so that the need to address issues is removed entirely. This can be done by their death, arrest, and detention, blackmail or destruction of their character,
And
by release of blackmail information, or merely by proper intimidation with blackmail or other threats.
Okay, that is why I am happy. You see, when I was sort of say, why K had to release that certificate at this time? No, you know, no, and they say hindsight. I'm happy that you did, because from what I understand, that they were waiting until nominations day, and it's the same thing with Friday. They wanted to do wait until nomination day, tight up in the court, nomination gone, so whoever they have run unopposed.
Yeah, but those tricks would be laid bare this time.
Yes. So that they bring them out now. They did the same thing with Israel Bruce. So yes, with the letter. Let them bring them out now. Bring them out now.
Same radio station, I told you that I was told that from the time I was selected by the NDP, there was a special meeting held, and a plan was afoot to release information about me and something to do with my father. I don't know if you remember, I told you that someone whispered to me.
Yes.
That's the way they behave.
Yes.
When we had, there was the demonstration, Nicole and myself, and I think Grand Cornell and Olin, the demonstration over pace and so forth. Immediately they started misinformation about
because
Nicole and myself.
They went.
That is the way it is done.
They went, dug up a case with you, knowing that Theo Brown could be implicated, and other persons could be implicated in the whole matter.
And the case was so clear.
Oh my goodness me!
So clear as
that case met Lock Roberts call list before he dead. Lock call list, you know. You know what call list mean?
No.
Oh, joking, man. Ask Slider, Mr. Mackenzie. Slider, wake up and tell your representative what calling list mean. Call list over that case,
really?
That very case, and say that he's sorry because he know that you weren't. But they're going to dig it up. Dig it up now, and want to dig up in the process. They're digging up Lock Roberts out the grave.
That's the way
these wicked set of people.
But I understand that one thing you have to know is know your opponent.
Okay, you know what they did? 2010 with Patel.
What about you, Margaret?
And knowing I wasn't disqualified.
You were not disqualified.
And they have Carlos James.
Exactly. You were not disqualified. This foolish talk they have that, even if you have a criminal record, that means you're disqualified.
Tell them something. Tell them, no. You could be in jail and run.
Of course.
You could be in jail. Because on nomination day, you don't have to be present. Read it, Dickie. Read it. You are the lawyer.
Let me read this.
You are the lawyer, I'm not a lawyer.
They have this thing going around, and they've tried to use it with Colin. And threaten people. It is not right. It is using silencing your critics.
Yes.
In the section which deals with records. It says, let's see if I could find it here. It says disqualification. Let me read that because I wanted to raise that issue because of this misnomer and this thing they push. That it says disqualification for representatives and senators on the G. Persons should be disqualified. Someone who is under sentence of death imposed by a court of law or in any part of the Commonwealth, or is serving a sentence of imprisonment by whatever name exceeding 12 months imposed on him by such a court, or substituted by competent authority, or some other sentence imposed by him in such a court, is under sentence of imprisonment, the execution of which has been suspended. Is that part I want to read? Let's see what it says. Let's see what it says.
No, that same part.
Yes.
That same part. Because is all
you have to be under sentence of death.
Death. So you could be in jail and still run. But then there's another part that could be 12 months.
That deals with listen to it. If it is so provided by Parliament, a person who is convicted by any court of law of any offence that is prescribed by Parliament and that is connected with the election of representatives, or is reported guilty of such an offence by the court trying an election petition shall not be qualified for such period not exceeding 5 years. This particular provision deals with an election offence. Of course, you'll be disqualified if you have conviction for election offences, not general criminal convictions, as they try to make people think and spread this disinformation. We're not thereby saying
But no.
that you want persons with criminal records to run. But
Listen.
we're saying that persons make mistakes and persons would have served their term or whatever it is. And once you have done that, the law does not disqualify you.
PJ Patterson even went as far as saying clean criminal records isn't enough, because a lot of them have clean criminal records.
We know.
Julian Francis have clean criminal record, but is that enough? Is that enough? After he walls out of the National Commercial Bank, is that enough? Is that enough? Eh? Man, I tell you here, this country, I call it drop off. I call it drop off, but can you know what time it is?
It's time to go, almost.
I like how you put it. I like how you put it. The other day I asked a fella, where you going? Say, I'm going to vote out the ULP. Right? Which was good. But I like how you put it. It's time to go. It is now 1:45. We have not heard from your fella there.
Waiting for you to allow a couple calls.
No, but I might have the lines right,
Okay.
and the time too. So your closing words.
Okay. Well, Margaret, first of all, I want to again wish the people of Western George and generally all the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines a very happy, healthy, prosperous, productive 2019. And as Pastor K, I pray for your health. I pray for your liberation from the tyrannous government that we are under. I pray that we'll all be liberated and that we can all live as one family under God. That it doesn't matter whether we are a red party, green party, yellow party, that we'll be able to see elections for what they are, that we would be able to elect with a clear conscience the best person that you think can represent you without fear or intimidation, and that after that we'll go on to business as usual, ruling the country, living as one Vinci, one nation, one.
I hope this is not him, eh? Let us hope this is not him, right? Good afternoon, your times.
Good afternoon.
What tell you? What tell you? What tell you, Kay?
Good afternoon, Margaret.
Good afternoon, Slider.
I want to say Happy New Year's to you for this one.
Thank you so much, and I wish you also the same. A very happy, prosperous 2019.
Yes. They're listening. I hear Margaret calling in to Dave, asking him concerning what man is unstable in all his ways. I listened to Kachi, the phone rang out several times. Then I heard she calling the one asking me to give a description of those who was careless. Margaret, for
No, you have
instance,
to explain to Kay.
Yeah, I didn't
What call this mean? When they're bragging, when they think.
wait a while now, man.
You know what time it is?
No. Miss Margaret,
Yes, Slider.
you see like how a man then go away for police and then come to the nation and say he didn't do that.
Yes.
When he going dead now,
Oh, I now get you.
he just call a lot of people, he die in bed. But say, you know, I best say, I didn't rape the woman, but I really been raped, she ain't truth. You say, it's owning up your sins.
Bragging.
Ah, so that's what it means.
Bragging.
Okay.
Owning up the wrongs you do.
I see.
And you die in bed.
And you die in bed.
Lock Roberts call this.
Really?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
God.
Some who go and do iniquity, go all about, go get bath, and go get people to scrub them with all stinking bush and stale pea.
Oh dear.
Well, when I've been go by Mr. Louis.
By Mr. Jones. By Johnny Jones.
You mean what that mean what that?
I see.
You could say for me something.
I see.
Oh, God.
Them who go and go in all kind of witchcraft to stunt the nation to rule. And sometimes some things where they just say is amazing. And we still are more amazing people. And I believe there is one, Ms. Bacchus.
Yes.
It's pretty file, let us call them a petty filer or whatever.
Pedophile. I see.
Some of them, when they dip and they die in bed, is that they don't know how much underage children they rape.
Oh dear.
I would have loved to go by one, a stalker, to hear when that day come, what will be his outcome. And on a very, very serious note, but if I don't know, sometimes our sense of foul could be querying that he got more feather, either more well a tire board than a parrot or such. It have an individual, I ain't calling his name, but he know everything about everybody. And if you had to pull off the crocus bag, in which cover he, you wouldn't meet human, you know. You will meet ferret.
Anyhow, Mr. Mac, your time gone, right?
Yes, I just want to...
But I'm glad you called. I'm glad you called to explain. We're calling this mean to king.
All right. I
Yeah,
understand
so
it.
sometimes somebody either going up the King's Highway or driving down the Queen's Drive road. You might meet them on the King's Highway, going up the King's Highway, or you might catch them riding down the Queen's Drive.
Our Lord Gonsa must say, right? Have a nice day.
You also.
And a most enjoyable weekend.
So,
all right.
God bless.
Margaret, let me just remind persons that on the 11th of February, the trial of the petitions begin.
On the 11th of February?
Yes, I believe that the judge who's going to be trying that petition has been appointed because we got notification that a judge, his lordship, Stanley John, has been appointed to be the judge to try the didn't say to try the petitions, but appointed to be a judge, and the crucial time is between the dates when the petition will be on.
Who was appointed as a judge?
Stanley John. The coincidence of the name is interesting, but I'm told he's an eminent judge from Trinidad and Tobago. So I take it that is the reason why this judge is appointed, and I say this to remind all persons that this is a very sober and serious time for us, and I'm asking all of you Vincentians who are interested in democracy and the right to vote and free and fair elections to come out to the petitions, which I said the trial begins on the 11th of February and runs until the 1st of March. You'll hear more about the action that the NDP intends to take as regards that. But legally, we are ready, as we have always been since the last dates had been vacated. We're ready for the trial, and I'm asking you, as I said, to come out and support justice, equality, freedom of elections, freedom from interference in your vote, and your right to vote for a candidate of your choice.
Okay, folks, so you have heard from Mrs. Baptiste. Our time has come to an end. But I want you to remember, folks, not only what the Bible says about whatsoever they say to do, but do not follow after their works. We were told that we don't want any friend promotion. It was after I came on Nice Radio and I spoke about Kia George, a lawyer, called to the bar years ago and was denied a job. Her parents they don't speak politics. I've never heard her father could speak.
Who is that?
Kia George. A lawyer?
Who's that?
She was walking upstairs the registry, just writing up deeds and all kind of a thing. Young lady. Now they move her now to walk under Jandy. Right? But while Kia was suffering, fella we have here, daughter and son, Crown Council,
Wife.
and daughter-in-law, get big job, and Kia suffering. And then there was a lady at the hospital, I don't know how come she didn't join with the PSU. And, I mean, in the case, Donna Bascom could have been walking there at the hospital still. No, she was moved out and given a big name as coordinator of health disaster. What the hell is that? Coordinator of health disaster. But folks, we have to go, okay? To pull some strength from you, strong like a lion. Strong like a lion, because you can take all of the gorilla attacks. I spoke to Israel when he called last Friday. Put on the whole armor of God.
That's right.
Put on the whole armor of God, because they were coming after you, waiting for nominations day to come after you with this one. You stay strong. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I love you. St. Vincent, I have to go. But as I said to you, keep on the whole armor of God to withstand the wiles of the devil, right? You take care of your darling selves, and you too, you people out there, you need to put on the whole armor of God. Until we meet again, take care.
Lawyers who know all about the law and you preachers